Hey guys, what's going on? We're here to discuss some basic geometric terms and kind of some intro things for the course that's going to be mentioned a lot. So it's good that you get comfortable with this and you recognize different situations with lines, rays, points, and notations. So please just make sure you're picking up on this because this will be mentioned too throughout the course. So first, the most basic thing is a point. So if we're looking at the left box, a point is pictured by a dot. So a point represents a spot or a place in space. Now, all geometric figures, any shapes that you create can be made up of points. So it's important that we understand the concept of this. So all it is it's labeled by a dot. So this one is point A. We literally just write point A. Okay, so the next one is a line segment. So what is a line segment? It is a straight path between 2 points and it has 2 endpoints. So what that means is that it stops at these 2 endpoints. It's a piece of a line or something that does not go on forever, as you see for the definition of line to the right. But it is important that we know, again, that it does not go on forever. So now as far as notation goes, it is notated with 2 letters always, and it is the endpoints. So it doesn't matter for which one we say first. So it should be written like this. Line segment BC or line segment CB would work for this one. So for this one, take notice, it does not matter which one goes first. Now for the next one, onto a line. A line is a straight path that goes on forever in both directions. So here you see we have 2 points just labeled on the line. We could actually draw an infinite amount of points in between, after the points. It does not matter. The main concept is that it goes on forever in both directions. So how do we name a line? A line, we just pick any 2 points on that line to name it. So for this instance, we're shown D and E. So we can write DE with the notation of a line above it. That's 2 arrows on both sides, or ED. Now, for example, let's pretend that we had a point D, then C, then E. Now, you could name this DC if you really wanted to. It does not matter. There is no endpoint, so we just pick any 2 points and make sure we have the proper notation above. So, the next thing is an angle. So, before we get into this, I'd like to first talk about what a ray is. So, a ray is a part of a line that has only one endpoint. So, as you can see up here, there's one side that goes on forever here with an arrow, and A is a hard point or a hard stop. It doesn't go any further than that. So it is written with 2 letters. This one has A and B. And the endpoint, when we label it, is always the first letter. So as you can see here, the proper notation would be AB, and again with a line with an arrow only on one side of it. Now, it would not be appropriate to call this BA. That is because B is not the endpoint. So make sure you take notice of that. Now let's go back to an angle. So an angle is formed by 2 rays, hence why we went to the rays first. The opening is measured in degrees. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. We usually hear a degree of an angle. So that's where we measure it, is that spot right there. It's how much it opens. And now this point here where the 2 rays meet is called the vertex. So an angle is formed by 2 rays. They have a common vertex, which then creates a degree measure depending on how much it opens or how small it is. So notation-wise, the ray or the common vertex between those 2 rays is always the middle letter. So if we look up here, A and C are points on the rays. B is the vertex. So ABC is appropriate, or you can go in the other direction and call it angle CBA. The most important thing is that B stays in the middle because it is the vertex. Now on to planes, collinear points, and coplanar points. So what is a plane? A plane is usually represented by a rectangle or a parallelogram. It infinitely goes on in all directions and has no thickness. So that means that this isn't just a rectangle here with a bunch of points inside of it. It represents basically a flat surface of space that goes on infinitely. So it goes on forever out all of these ways. So all these points lie on this plane. And again, it does go on forever in all directions. So how do we notate a plane? It is written as a single letter or 3 non-collinear points. We'll talk about non-collinear in a second. So basically you can pick any 3 points on this plane, or you could name it, say, if we had a script letter M here, you can call this plane M. Or again, you could pick those 3 points, A, B, and C, and call it plane ABC. So those are 2 ways you can name it. Now, what does collinear mean? So collinear points are points that lie on the same line. All the points pictured above are on the same line. So, for instance, A and P are collinear, A, P, and Q. All these points together are collinear. So what does non-collinear mean? So non-collinear would say, if I had a point X up here, that point X is not in that line with all those points. So that's not a collinear point. It's a non-collinear point. No notation for this one. It's just something you have to take notice of. So then if collinear means they're on the same line, coplanar probably means something similar, just having to do with planes now. So coplanar points are points that lie in the same plane. So if you look above, points A, B, C, and D pictured above all lie in the same plane. So these are coplanar points. So now that you're comfortable with some of these definitions and some of these basic geometric terms, I want you to go down here. You could pause the video if you want and take a shot at these few problems with notations, lines, rays, segments, and planes. So take a moment and pause the video, and then we will go over it. So now let's go ahead and review these practice problems. So the first practice exercise here, we have to name each of the angles below and state the vertex. So as we said in the definition of an angle, the vertex is the shared endpoint of the 2 rays that form an angle. So this one, the vertex would be M. Now to name this angle, we'd have to make sure we have the vertex in the middle, or as the middle letter when we name it. So we can call this angle NML or angle LMN. Does not matter the order. So same thing goes for the second one. Second one, our vertex is D. And again, it has to be the middle letter. So angle EDC would work, or angle CDE. Now we have multiple angles here in one. So in this picture here, for number 3, we do have 3 total angles. Now, let's see where we get that from. So we do have an angle here. We have another angle here. And then we also have the big angle, which is the entire thing. So there's 3 possible angles here. And they all do have the same vertex. All of them have vertex V. So the same naming principles apply as before. So we have this green angle here, which is angle HVI, or you could do IVH, that works. You also have that red angle there, which is angle IVJ, or JVI, and again, vertex always in the middle. And then the big angle, the entire thing, which is angle HVJ, or angle JVH would work. So on to the next one. We have the same type of problem here. Apply the same concept. This is where it would help to have multiple colors to label this just like I did. So we have an angle here. We have another angle here. Then we have the entire angle. So let's start out with the big one first. So again, vertex is V. We have angle FVD, or angle DVF. We have the red angle, angle FVE, or angle EVF. And then finally, we have the big angle, which is angle DVF, or angle FVD. Oops. Made a mistake there. The yellow angle was a smaller one. It's this one here. So we're looking at this angle here. It's angle DVE or angle EVD. So now if we move down, we have to name the following lines, rays, line segments, and planes. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So the first one has two arrows on both ends. So this is a line. So what would be appropriate would be line CO or line OC. Those are both perfect answers there. Now the next one, this is not two continuous endpoints or two arrows on the end. This has one hard endpoint at G and an arrow. So this is a ray. It goes on infinitely in this direction, but not the other direction. So the only appropriate name here would be ray GF with the endpoint as the first letter. So now we're on to number 7. Number 7 has two hard endpoints here. It does not go on forever in both directions. So this is actually a measurable thing here. So if we wanted to get the size of this, we're able to get it. It is a line segment, and the label for this would be line segment. This should be an X here. Line segment XY or YX. Now, no arrows on the top in the notation, just a line. Okay, so on to the next one, we have a plane here. So these are a bunch of coplanar points, and we also have a name down here for the plane with a single letter. So we can call this plane XYZ, or simply put, just plain R by the label from the letter in the corner. So that's it for that. If you guys need to rewind it and pause the video or do any of that stuff, I'd highly recommend that. It's very useful to watch things over again.